I welcome you to the pure world I have forged.
This idea came to me upon seeing Mortal Kombat in a Dead by Daylight survey for potential future collaborations. I got to thinking, what fighting game characters would work in Dead by Daylight? Since there are literally thousands of fighting games, I have selected 7 to look at in this video, mainly ones that I am personally a fan of. Most of these are well-known series, and I've thrown in a few dark horses for good measure. Who knows, maybe we will uncover a great idea for a new DVD chapter. With each series, I've picked characters that could work for both Survivor and Killer. Grab yourself a drink, a snack, sit back and relax as we explore this bonkers idea together. Let's begin with the one that started this idea. Mortal Kombat has a massive wealth of iconic characters that would fit in Dead by Daylight. Funny enough, considering how violent all these characters are, almost any of them could play the role of Killer. However, I've narrowed down the choices so we have 2 survivors and 1 killer, with legendary skins as well. I tried to pick the most iconic faces of the Mortal Kombat series for survivors, 1 male and 1 female. Of course, this is tough, considering the Mortal Kombat series has some of the most recognisable characters in all fighting games. However, there are 2 who stand above the rest as true video game icons, Scorpion and Mileena.
Get over here!
Scorpion, being the poster boy of the series, is a no-brainer for our first Mortal Kombat survivor. Mileena is one of the female faces of the series, and debatably the most popular female character. Mileena is an interesting one, as she could definitely work as a killer too. However, as she's portrayed as a more heroic character in the newest Mortal Kombat, I think she would work just as well as a survivor. I won't go too into perks and such, as I'm not that clued up on the millions of perks already in the game, but I'll try to do a rough outline for each character, mainly focusing on their personality and characteristics that would make them a unique addition to the survivor roster. For Scorpion, being the master of the Shirai Ryu, he could have perks that reflect him being a leader. Also, being a ninja, stealth and maybe speed perks would complement him too. For Mileena, she's royalty with a monstrous side, so perhaps perks that give her an advantage when other survivors are around, like having servants do the gens for her. A perk reflecting her monstrous side would be a nice touch, perhaps alienating her from the other survivors in exchange for some advantages. Cosmetics wise, there are so many iconic outfits you could give to both Scorpion and Mileena. The classic ninja skins, Deception, Mortal Kombat X, take your pick. We have a few cool choices for a Mortal Kombat killer, focusing on the main villains of the MK series. Shang Tsung, Shao Kahn, Shinnok, Onaga. Who to pick? There can be only one.
It's official. You suck.
Killer, the Emperor. One of the most iconic villains in gaming, Shao Kahn would totally fit the killer role. The Emperor would use his iconic hammer as his weapon, and his power would focus on some of his iconic moves he uses in the Mortal Kombat series. He is famous for taunting his opponents, so maybe taunting survivors will allow him to charge up his power. He can use a spear as a long-range projectile or his shoulder barge as a quick attack that breaks walls or pallets. As for his Mori, he has many fatalities to choose from, but simply smashing in the survivor's head with a hammer would do the trick. Perk-wise, I think the Emperor would make the most of having a massive terror radius, maybe hindering survivors whenever he is nearby. Perks that focus on him being too intimidating for the survivors to get things done would complement how imposing Shao Kahn is. Like the survivors, Shao Kahn has numerous MK appearances to draw cosmetics from. Also, his iconic hammer comes in all sorts of designs that can complement his different looks.
Frosty.
As there are so many iconic characters in Mortal Kombat, some of them could work well as legendary skins for Scorpion and Mileena. Firstly, for both characters, I thought a legendary skin for the iconic ninja outfits for the male and female characters would be a nice treat for MK fans. For Scorpion, you could have an MK3 ninja base, with different colours and features to represent the other male ninjas in the series. Icy Blue for Sub-Zero, Lizardy skin for Reptile, etc. Same for Melina, MK2 or MK3 female ninja skin, with blue for Katana, red for Scarlet, etc. Perhaps a one-off legendary skin could grant you all the recolours in one bundle, allowing fans to pick their favourite ninja. As for individual characters, Scorpion would have to get a legendary skin of Sub-Zero. I would pick his iconic Deception design, but his MK1 look would be fine too. Other iconic male characters that would be cool legendary skins include Johnny Cage, Kano, Jax, and Liu Kang. Melina would of course get Katana, her MKX look being my personal choice. Sonya Blade, being another female lead in the series, would work well too, along with Scarlet and Jade. Sindel and Tanya would be my personal picks. As for the DBD cast, a legendary Erron Black skin for the Deathslinger and a Frost skin for the Skull Merchant would go down a treat. Both could have Moris inspired by their fatalities too. With the Houndmaster having costumes that change the cosmetics of the killer's power, a Frost skin for Scully could actually give us different drones too. A Devourer skin for Plague? I'm sure there are many more that could be done. We would be here all day listing what MK-inspired costume survivors could get, so write in the comments below what DBD characters you would like to see in their best MK cosplays. Like and subscribe too if you're enjoying the video so far.
Disgraceful.
This section is for crazy picks that would be unlikely to happen, but I just picked them for fun. I picked Ashra as a survivor and Nitara as a killer. Being rivals, Ashra's more heavenly look would contrast greatly with Nitara's vampire aesthetic. Other than that, Cetrion and Shinnok are portrayed as direct opposites. Shinnok would suit the role of killer, using his necromancy against the survivors. Cetrion using her nature power to protect others would create a fun dynamic between killer and survivor. Clearly, Mortal Kombat has quite a lot of collab potential with Dead by Daylight. Perhaps it appearing on that server means we will see an MK chapter one day. But this is just the beginning, my friends. Moving on to our next fighting game, and one of my favourite series of all time.
The King of Iron Fist Tournament.
An absolute king in the fighting game genre, Tekken has so many wacky and wonderful characters that could fit nicely into the survivor and killer roles.
風間流の技お見せします
Again, there are so many amazing characters to choose from, but I picked both Jin and his mother Jun Kazama. Why? Well, it will make sense in a moment. Jin having the devil gene but being a more heroic character could have perks that make him the target of the killer to help save others. Similarly, Jun being a healer and peacemaker could use her powers to create boons that hinder the killer. Jin has had many standout looks in the Tekken series that could work for cosmetics and DVD. Of course, his classic flame trousers from Tekken 3 would be a must. As for Jun, her ecological fighter, Tekken Tag 2 and Tekken 8 looks would be my picks. Now to our killer. Hayachi, Ogre, Jinpachi. There are some decent bosses and villains in the Tekken series. However, there is one that would complement the Tekken survivors so very well. Killer, the Devil Gene. Devil, or Devil Kazuya, is one of the most prominent antagonists in the Tekken series. Being Jin's father and Jun's something, it would create a great survivor/killer dynamic. His weapon could simply be his fists, or Devil Claws. Power-wise, of course Devil's laser could be a long-range attack, while his wings could give him a speed boost to get across the map. His rage art from Tekken 8 would serve as a perfect way to Mori a survivor. Perk-wise, boosting Kazuya's scary presence with a widening terror radius would suit him. Maybe a hex could help weaken the survivors when in his terror radius as well. Devil has had numerous designs over the years. The OG one from Tekken 2 would be a cool alt skin, as well as his Blood Vengeance design.
Open wide.
Legendary skins could be endless, so I've picked a mix of the most popular and my personal faves for both Jin and June. Jin could get Hwoarang, Paul, Eddie, and my personal picks would be Miguel and Claudio.
Niente di più facile.
June could get Xiaoyu and Asuka, with my choices being Nina, Anna, and Safina.
Let's start this.
As for our killer, Devil Kazuya, there are a few other characters that could be legendary skins for him. Devil Kasumi and Devil Reina come to mind, but also maybe Devil Jin. It would be strange to have Jin as a survivor and his evil side as a killer. Ancient Ogre with True Ogre as a legendary skin would fit the killer role. His killer name would be the Ogre, of course. Not really sure what his power would be other than punching people / flaming people or using his snake arm on people. Maybe flight? Another cool killer idea would be Unknown. Her spooky wolf ghost would suit the horror themes for sure. Her killer name? We've already got an Unknown. I don't know. Her power could focus on the purple spikes and hands she uses in Tag 2. Maybe be even wilder and give Devil Kazuya an angel skin. An angelic killer would certainly be different. Again, feel free to comment below what Tekken characters and skins you would like to see. Next is another of my favourite fighting game series, and one that I'm hopeful we will see a new installment in soon.
A formidable opponent awaits.
Being a staple of the weapon-based fighters, Soul Calibur offers excellent characters to fit the survivor and killer roles. Who to pick? I've selected two characters that are not only staples in the series, but would complement the killer as well. First up is Siegfried, arguably the face of the franchise. He's quite the tragic hero and is seeking to atone for his sins, a perfect choice for the entity to take. Secondly, the absolute icon that is Ivy Valentine. She's probably the most famous Soul Calibur character, for obvious reasons, but as a character, she has an interesting tale of redemption similar to Siegfried. Siegfried, who uses the holy sword Soul Calibur, could have some protection perks, maybe even getting some benefits from taking a protection hit. Ivy is skilled in alchemy, so maybe a boon that hinders the killer would suit her. Siegfried and Ivy have been in so many installments in the Soul Calibur series, so there are so many costume choices. Here are some of my faves for Siegfried. As for Ivy, of course she has a more risque wardrobe. Her Soul Calibur 5 outfits are my personal favourites though. As for the killer, there is someone who has ties to both Siegfried and Ivy that would fit so well in the entity's realm.
The nightmare will devour your soul!
Killer, the Soul Edge. Nightmare would be the perfect killer to use from Soul Calibur. Both the Nightmare and the Knight have been taken by other killers, so maybe the Azure Knight or the Soul Edge would work for his killer name. Not only does he have a terrifying presence, but he has personal relationships with Siegfried and Ivy, which could create a great in-game dynamic. His signature Zweihandler sword could be his weapon, with various skins from across the Soul Calibur series to choose from. His power could focus on how Soul Edge takes souls. Maybe injuring a survivor can let him charge up his power, kind of like the Oni. Something similar to his Soul Calibur 6 finisher would make a great Mori. Maybe Soul Edge absorbing the survivor's soul for that extra deliciously cruel touch. Perks centered on him getting quick downs and sacrifices would suit him. Maybe a Scourge hook perhaps? Same as the survivors, Nightmare has a huge wealth of outfits to choose from. His Soul Calibur 5 outfits are some of his coolest looks in my opinion. Some of his designs show the more human side, which is even more spooky.
I swear by my name, I shall be victorious.
Sticking to the rule of the most iconic and my favourite characters for legendary skins, for Siegfried we could have Keelik, Mitsurugi, Maxi, with my picks being Zwei and Zasalamel. For Ivy, we have fellow icons Sophitia, Taki, and Shenhua, with my fave picks being Amy, Setsuka, and Hilda. Nightmare has potential for many legendary skins. One cool choice would be his Night Terror form, maybe giving him new animations and mori like Dracula's true form skin. Other Soul Edge users could also work as legendary skins, Inferno, Cervantes, or even Pyrrha Omega. For the DBD killers, a legendary skin for the Unknown turning it into Voldo would just make so much sense. I mean, look at how he moves. They could be cousins.
All show and no go.
I have 3 wildcard choices here for the killer role. Firstly, Soul Calibur 2's Necrid, designed by illustrator and Spawn creator Todd McFarlane. He's a little bit like Ogre from Tekken 3, where his moveset is made up from other fighters. He certainly looks the part of killer, and his power could utilise his weapon morphing into different shapes for short and long-ranged attacks. Secondly, we have Shura, a bonus character from Soul Calibur 4 designed by manga artist Hiroya Oku. In her backstory, Shura is a simple killer who starts to kill demons to satisfy her bloodlust. However, one day she is possessed by one, yet doesn't stop her killings. This gives her the name Shura, which means bloodshed. Sounds apt for DBD, right? She uses twin katanas and Cervantes' moveset in Soul Calibur 4. Her power could focus on boosting her strength with each injured/hooked survivor, similar to Oni, and to mirror her thirst for killing. Lastly, we have Elysium, the final boss of Soul Calibur 5 and my channel's namesake. While not an obvious choice for killer, her order over chaos mentality makes her rather sinister. She would want to cut down anything deemed evil, and perhaps the entity could use that to make her see all survivors as evil. Also, I just like the idea of an angelic looking killer. She uses the holy sword Soul Calibur and can mimic any female weapon in Soul Calibur 5. Perhaps her power could revolve around this, changing her weapon to suit each scenario.
Soul Edge must be destroyed.
As with Tekken and Mortal Kombat, Soul Calibur offers some suitable picks for DBD that would work well in a more horror setting. Next we have an overlooked, sometimes controversial, but overall very fun fighting game series.
Get ready, fight!
Dead or Alive often gets overlooked when talking about fighting games because of, well, its focus on other things. Despite this, the series is a really solid fighting game franchise with some awesome characters. Again, I have picked one girl and one guy for our survivor roles.
I feel a storm is coming.
It goes without saying that our survivor frontrunner from DOA would have to be Kasumi, the face of the series and an iconic video game character in general. As for our male representative, we have the equally iconic Ryu Hayabusa, who started out in the Ninja Gaiden series before showing up in the original DOA game. As they are both ninjas, I feel like they could have complementary perks that enhance each other's stealth or speed. Kasumi is usually against combat, but does fight to save others. Maybe a perk that helps nearby survivors avoid detection, referencing her heroic personality. Ryu is a much more combat-ready character, and would totally fight off the killer in the normal world. In the entity's realm, the most he could do is put himself in harm's way to help others. Some altruistic perks would suit him well. Both characters have a vast wealth of outfits for cosmetics. Here are some of my favourites. There are a few options for a DOA killer, the elusive Donovan, the monstrous Rido, but one that I think would complement the survivors is... Killer, the Clone. Alpha 152 is like a hyper-experimental clone of Kasumi. With their pre-established rivalry, They would create an excellent survivor versus killer relationship in the entity's realm. Alpha doesn't really use weaponry except her hands and feet, so maybe just a simple punch like Nemesis would be a suitable weapon. As for her power, Alpha is pretty infamous for her ability to teleport. I see her killer power being similar to the Unknown's, shooting a projectile as her killer power and creating energy pockets that she can teleport to. Her gameplay also shows she can summon sheets of glass to smash her opponent through. Perhaps she could use these to block off windows and pallets? Or if a survivor runs through it, they are inflicted with deep wounds or something similar. Her Mori could be inspired by her power blow, beating the ever-loving out of the survivor. Her cosmetics would mostly just be different colours of her default form, perhaps with choices for hairstyles. Basically, she's always translucent regardless of what she is wearing.
Face your fate.
DOA is known for its cast of lovely ladies. Ayane, Helena, and Hitomi would be great picks for legendary skins for Kasumi, with my favourite picks being Christy, Lisa, and Nico. For Rue, we have Hayate, Zack, and Bayman, with my choices being Rig and Diego. For Alpha, the only legendary skin that would suit would be Phase 4, the perfect clone of Kasumi.
Finished already? How unsatisfying.
A random idea, but one of the final bosses in the series was Tengu, with his moveset later recycled for the fan favourite Nyo Tengu in Dead or Alive 5. I kinda like the idea of having two supernatural beings being on opposite sides of the realm in DVD. Maybe a potential idea for a killer and a survivor in the future? DOA is hardly a horror-themed series, but Kasumi, Rue, and Alpha could totally work in the entity's realm. Next, we have a very underrated series that needs a comeback.
Combo Breaker!
Killer Instinct is an awesome and unique fighting game series with a whole host of wacky characters and crazy combos. With characters inspired by both horror and sci-fi, many would suit both survivor and killer in DBD.
This should be quick.
First up, we have poster girl Orchid. She is probably the most recognisable character from Killer Instinct. Sexy, badass and heroic, she would be a perfect choice for a survivor in DBD. A complementary survivor would be her brother Jago. He is a warrior monk with a stern outer shell, but is ready to fight to help others. Orchid and Jago being siblings could play into their perks. Perhaps working on gens together makes them faster. As an elite secret agent, Orchid could have a smoke bomb-like perk that allows her to obscure the killer's vision for a time, emulating the grenades she uses in Killer Instinct. She is also known for her cat-like powers, so maybe something that gives her a speed boost too. Jago is an incredibly strong fighter known for his crazy projectiles. Sadly, I don't think the survivors will Hadouken the killer, but perhaps he can use it to distract the killer somehow. Orchid and Jago have been in every KI installment, but have only a couple of designs, their OG looks and their 2013 looks. Jago does have Shadow Jago, and they have lots of customization pieces that can be used to inspire further cosmetics. Killer Instinct has quite a few options for killer. Two big antagonists of the series are Idol and Gargos. I mean, look at these pretty boys. They would totally fit as killer. However, my choice is a bit left field, but it will make sense in due course.
Evolve or die. Make your choice.
Killer, the AI. Arya is the AI robot CEO of Ultratech who wants humanity to evolve to survive the bonkers world of Killer Instinct. Her methods, however, are rather brutal, with those who can't evolve being taken care of. Essentially, she's not outright evil, who wants to strengthen humanity by excruciating trials of survival. Just like the Entity, right? Weapon-wise, Arya uses different drones in her moveset, but I feel like they could be her killer power. Perhaps run-of-the-mill fists would work. Her drones are drastically different to Skull Merchant's. She uses 3 different kinds during combat. Her booster drone allows her to fly, her blade drone extends her attacks, her base drone enhances her speed and grants her access to projectiles. During the trials, she could switch her drones to suit the situation. Booster drone to fly over vaults and pallets quickly, blade drone to make her attack range larger, and her base drone could allow her to use projectile attacks to hit survivors from afar. Her Mori could utilise all of her drones to wear down the survivor, and a classic windscreen could serve as the coup de grace. Being a machine, I think her perks would focus on interfering with the generators, maybe creating difficult skill checks per injured survivor or something. Like the survivors, Arya has a base design and a retro design. She also has different equipment that you could use for some cosmetics.
Have you confessed your sins?
This might be the one category where we could have more legendary skins for killers. There are still a few options for Survivor though. For Orchid we have Maya and Kim Woo. For Jago we have TJ Combo, Thunder, Tusk, and Eagle. For Arya, there are 2 other robot characters on Killer Instinct, Fulgor and Kilgore. Arya is the one who created Fulgor, and Kilgore is controlled by her. Both would be suitable legendary skins for Arya. There are many options for legendary skins for other killers, thanks to Killer Instinct's host of creepy and spooky characters. One of the most obvious choices would be a Hisako skin for the Spirit. I mean, look at her. They could be long-lost sisters. Next we have Khan Ra, the gruesome undead sorcerer. I'm not sure if DBD gives guest characters legendary skins, but if they do, Khan Ra would work well as a skin for Vecna, given his magical powers. Plus, I think it would be cool to have an Egyptian mummy in DBD. Spinal is just way too unique not to mention here. A genetic experiment brought to life. I think he could work as a skin for the Wraith, perhaps. We also have the sinister ladies Sadira and Mira. Sadira and her sinister spider powers would look awesome as a legendary skin for the Hag. Mira is a spooky vampire who attacks using blood magic to make weapons. She could work as a skin for the Artist, whose ability to make weapons using her ink would complement Mira's powers. There's been a lot of talk about a dinosaur-type killer in DBD, and Killer Instinct's Riptor would fit that role perfectly. She's a genetic experiment of a dinosaur and human DNA. She would certainly be a vicious and scary monster to try and survive against in DBD, even when she's dressed as a cheerleader. This fan-favourite series is full of collab potential with DBD. Perhaps if we see a new Kill Instinct game one day, a DBD crossover could happen too. We are entering the wildest of wildcards, but there are 2 final fighting games that I think could work well in DBD, however unlikely.
Fate calls.
A fairly obscure fighting game from an indie developer, A1 Games, Omen of Sorrow is a horror-themed fighting game featuring reimagined horror icons. It's classic good versus evil, with some self-serving monsters in the mix. However, the main focus is the nefarious goals of the Invisible Queen and the heavenly heroes trying to stop her.
Rot in hell, monster.
There are a few heroic characters that would fit the survivor role. First, we have Zafgil, a literal angel. She's been battling with the Invisible Queen for millennia to save Earth. Her disciple, Gabriel, is a Nephilim and trains under Zafgil to learn how to slay demons. His Nephilim powers grant him much strength in the art of demon slaying. Their perks could focus on their angelic powers. Maybe both could use boons that complement each other in order to weaken the killer. They don't have many cosmetics to choose from, other than recolors, but I'm sure Behaviour could create some cool skins for them. I've mentioned her a few times, but there is an obvious choice for Killer from Omen of Sorrow.
I'm the hand that wrote your fate.
Killer, the Invisible Queen. Talessa is an all-powerful evil who shapes the world to her desires from behind the scenes. She has a range of spooky powers that could translate well into Dead by Daylight. She summons dark ghosts of different creatures to attack, so her weapon could be a spiky limb of a giant insect or something that she could stab people with. Her killer power could be varied given her range of abilities. Being a sorceress, she could use different skills depending on the situation, similar to Vecna. Summoning giant serpents that guard areas, creating stone replicas of herself that block off vaults and doorways, using her spinning spiky masses to prevent pallets from being thrown and destroying them if they do. Just a few ideas considering all the powers she can use in game. Her Mori could resemble her ultimate move.
Watch the true face of the world!
Pretty devastating, right? Her perks could revolve around hexes, inflicting different status effects on the survivors or gens to make it harder for them. Similar to the survivors, Talessa only really has a recolor. There are, however, a few interpretations of her within the world of Omen of Sorrow, some of which could inspire new cosmetics. Also, her concert art could make a great alternative outfit.
Watch your head!
Most of the cast of Omen of Sorrow are classic horror monsters, so would probably work better for Killer over Survivor. Arcturus as a legendary skin for the night would be perfect. I mean, look at this guy. Dr. Hyde uses different bottles in battle, similar to the clown, and both are hella creepy.
Over here.
This game in itself is already a wild card, but the dynamic between Vlad III and Elizabeth Bathory would make an interesting survivor/killer dynamic. Who goes where though? Omen of Sorrow clearly has potential if a collab with the DVD were to happen. Highly improbable, but its horror themes could fit nicely into DVD for sure. We've almost reached the end, my friends. This final fighting game we have is the ultimate wildcard of all the wildcards, considering it was never officially released, but I thought I should include it just for fun. Thrill Kill was once considered one of the most controversial fighting games back in the 90s. So controversial that it was cancelled before release. Looking back now, it hardly seems worse than classic Mortal Kombat in terms of violence. Perhaps the premise was a bit controversial. The Thrill Kill tournament is a game played in Hell, created by Maruka, the goddess of secrets. She brings together 10 fighters in the afterlife, all who are fighting for a chance to be reborn on Earth. Like good old Mortal Kombat, all the characters in Thrill Kill are pretty nasty people and are very violent. Most of them would suit Killer rather than Survivor. That being said, I've got 2 picks as per usual. First would be Thrill Kill's poster girl, Belladonna. The former housewife librarian turned sadistic seductress is famous for her sexy outfits, killer heels, and cattle prod. She's certainly been a more sinister survivor. Very hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, considering her backstory. She ended up in hell after killing her husband who was cheating on her with her sister. Next we have the very Oddball, a former FBI agent who was a secret serial killer and then gunned down by his apprentice. He might make a difficult survivor because his hands are usually tied behind his back, and I can't see Behaviour animating him doing generators with his feet. It would be novel to see though. Perk-wise, both are rather sinister characters. Belladonna being vengeful could have a perk that activates after she's hooked, allowing her to get her own back on the killer somehow. Also, as a masochist, stunning the killer with a pallet may give buffs for her pleasure. Oddball is a crafty little creeper who is cunning and cuckoo to boot. I feel like he would suit meme-style perks, making him a total wildcard amongst the other survivors. Maybe something akin to Nick Cage's Dramaturgy, where he gains a random buff and nerf after some activation. Both Belladonna and Oddball have a few alternative outfits that would make great cosmetics. Again, killer options are abound, but one in particular makes the most sense to me. Killer, the goddess of secrets. Maruka is the goddess of secrets who serves as the final boss in Thrill Kill. She is the one who arranges the underworld fighting tournament and has the power to return the winner to life should they win. As a premise, she's not too different from the entity. No melee weapons as such, but she does have some devastating claws that she uses to remove heads. As for her killer power, she has a bunch of options: flight, teleportation, even turning people to stone or blowing them away with her wings. She is a demon goddess after all. I feel like her being able to fly around the map would suit her fine. Perhaps hitting enough survivors while flying could then allow her to teleport or to turn survivors to stone for a few seconds, giving her an advantage. For her Mori, she literally has several fatalities to choose from. I do kind of like this fake out one the most. As for perks, I think hexes would suit her too. Maybe she could even have a hex that she could revive once cleansed. A kind of reverse boon to keep survivors under her control, just like she controls the characters in Thrill Kill. She has a few cosmetic choices available in Thrill Kill, mostly recolors, but she does have different horns and wings for each too. Again, the cast of Thrill Kill are more suited for killers, but you could have legendary skins for both sides of the entity's realm. Belladonna of course would get a violet skin. Oddball could have Tormentor, who kind of looks like a discount Pinhead, which could make some matches kind of funny to watch. As for Killer, we have Dr. Faustus for the Doctor, obviously. His bear trap face and scalpel would be a no-brainer for him. Cletus would work well for the hillbilly, even though he would suit the cannibal more. Having a severed leg as his weapon would be both gross and awesome. So the final wildcard would have to be Judas, one of the most unique fighters in Thrill Kill. He's a pair of Siamese twins joined at the waist. One twin fights as the top half, while the other acts as the legs. They can even swap sides so the other twin gets in on the action. He is a servant of Maruka and one of the sub-bosses in Thrill Kill. Perhaps each twin could have different powers, allowing you to switch on the fly and use their different powers mid-chase. The Mori potential alone would be cool to see. Of course, Thrill Kill probably has zero chance of ever being seen in DVD. Interestingly enough though, the characters could fit rather well into the entity's realm. Maybe if Thrill Kill were to be rebooted one day, it could get a chapter in DVD. And there we have it. I feel like we have found at least a few viable options for fighting game characters in DVD. This video was mostly just a fun idea that spiraled out of control, but it was fun to speculate and hypothetically see what characters could fit into Dead by Daylight. Turns out, quite a few. Of course, with Mortal Kombat appearing on the DVD surveys, that is definitely the frontrunner, but hopefully this video shows that so many fighting games have potential to work. Thank you so much for watching. I've been working on this for a while now, and it totally bloomed into something of a chunky project. But it was quite fun to make, hopefully fun for you to watch as well. I really hope to make more content like this in the future, so if you enjoyed it, please like, comment and subscribe. Any suggestions of what I could do next? Or perhaps you have some ideas about what fighting game characters would work in DVD? Let me know below, I'd love to read them. I also stream on Twitch too, under the 13th Elysium. We play all sorts of games, DBD of course, and also fighting games, so if you're a fan of those, pop over there and give me a follow, I'd really appreciate it. Hopefully I will see you all in the next one. Until next time.